My role in the project, in the Honey project, is I'm the technical coordinator, and so I deal a lot with software systems, and so what I'm going to do is show you a few of them and talk through. Things that I've been doing in the course of the project, starting off with a lot of planning. Lots and lots of planning, writing huge documents, which we finally managed to run past Nectar successfully, and got all our money, or got a promise of money at the very least. And since then we've been working on actually driving the project forward, which is, as has been described, really the fundamentals of the project involve bringing data together from quite a wide range of different data sources, and very heterogeneous really, all kinds of humanities data sources, but they're all, the data's all contained within quite distinct types of systems, and the different knowledge domains that those data sets belong to are also quite different, although they all kind of overlap each other to some degree. And so for us, the challenge is at the bottom level, actually making those information systems talk to each other so that we can bring all that data together, and that's the kind of, I like to think of it as the plumbing. But then on top of that, we do have this level of making those data sets actually talk to each other in the sense of actually making sense and cohering in an intellectual sense. And then on top of that, we have the challenge of actually building tools that researchers can use to actually then integrate, to deal with that data and to make sense of it and to actually drive their research agendas forward. So what I've been working on in the first place is setting up some project infrastructure. So our project wiki was the first bit of infrastructure that I set up, which is this thing called Apidictor. And an Apidictor, interestingly, is because we have this tradition in our project, which is to make puns as often as we can. And an Apidictor, you'll notice the little bee logo there. An Apidictor is a device, an electronic device which was invented in the mid-20th century, I think, for spying on beehives. It's a little device that you put next to a beehive and it listens to the sounds that the bees make. And the different populations of bees, you've got worker bees, your queen bees, your drone bees of various kinds. And they make different kinds of sounds, and when they're doing different activities, they make different sounds. And an Apidictor can tell you what's going on in the hive, whether the bees are going to swarm, all that sort of stuff. So this is really a way of getting the buzz on the Honey project, is to go to this website and see what's going down. So this project, this website contains a whole lot of the internal documentation about the project. Our plans, lists of all our data sets, contact details for people, lists of the tasks that we have to go through and the progress that we've made through it. So this is really, we're kind of doing our project planning right out in the public, and we welcome people to have a look around this and make comments on it. So this is one of the bits of software that I've set up. The other one is this thing called Corbicula, which is coincidentally another Latinate word. Corbicula, yes, another part of this whole beekeeping metaphor. Corbicula is a little structure on the hind leg of a honeybee, and when a honeybee is out foraging for nectar, they gather the nectar and they stash it in this little pocket. It's a little pouch. It's actually Latin for little basket, and so for us, I mean, the power of the metaphor is that this Corbicula is a little staging area for when you're going out and harvesting stuff from a diverse range of sources, and you stash it there, and where you can bring it back to the hive for being turned into honey. So yeah, this gadget, this is one of the tools that Ingrid uses in her work, and Anne. And I didn't write it, I just installed it. So what this shows is, this is a way of browsing through the data that's been harvested from the Encyclopedia of Australian Science. And in fact, before I do this, let me just show you one record which I've harvested from one of these sources. I think I've got a record, a sample record, I think from the ADB. Yeah, so these are just some files that we're transferring. So someone asked before about what does an EAC record look like, one of these biographical records that we're harvesting. And these biographical records, these are just one part of the kind of domain of data sets that we're dealing with. We've got several different data sets, contributors who have biographical data. There's the Australian Dictionary of Biography, Encyclopedia of Australian Science, and the DAO and the Women's Register. But then we have a whole lot of other data sets that are about different things, books or film or whatever. But so these biographical records, if you look through I'll just run you quickly through this. It's a very small record. The ADB EAC CPF records are quite short. So I'll just walk you through quickly what it is. Starts off, you've got a bit of kind of administrative metadata at the start, which is data about the record itself, which says where it came from. The Australian Dictionary of Biography Online, they've got a code that identifies them, when it was created or derived, there's a date, etc. Then there's the actual body of the record itself. So it's about a particular person. There's the identifier for the person. They've got a bunch of names. They've got some dates, a from date and a to date. That's a birth and death date in the case of a person, because these EAC CPF records also apply to organisations. So these could be kind of foundation and dissolution events. But in this case, we're dealing with birth and death. We've got occupation codes. This person was a pathologist. And there's a snippet, really just an excerpt from the very start of the biography that the ADB have. So they have some quite large biographical essays really about people. And in their EAC CPF, they just publish a little snippet from that, just a kind of teaser. So that's what a EAC CPF record looks like at its most basic. Now, some of the other data sets, such as the ones that come from the ESRC, have much richer metadata and include lots more information about people's lives and their the various events that took place in their life and their occupations and their religious affiliations and things like that. But in essence, that's the kind of data that we're dealing with and that we're having to convert into linked open data. This is what comes to us. So yeah, Gadget, what that Gadget thing does. So this is just one record. Of course, we've got tens of thousands of these, and so this is the challenge, obviously, for Ingrid and Anne, is how to actually read. You can't just sit down and read, 50,000 of those XML records, because your head would explode. And so what they do instead is they're using this tool, Gadget, and also using Google Refine to look at these data sets kind of in bulk, in a summarised form, and if you like, metaphorically from a great height, where you can kind of get an overview of the shape of the data without having to read through it all, exhaustively. So what this shows you, this is the structure. As you notice when you're looking at that XML, it has a hierarchical structure. And the same hierarchical structure is apparent here. And what Gadget shows is basically all of the records overlaid on top of each other, and you can see what are the common values. So for instance, those occupation codes, we can browse through here and find what are the occupations of the people in the, what is this? This is the ADB? No, this is the Encyclopedia of Australian Science. So these are all scientists of various kinds. And you can see some of them have got, here we go, we've got 11 aeronautical engineers, but we've also got aeronautical engineer and astronomer, aeronautical engineer and aviator as distinct occupations. And really what these should be done, the way these should be treated is this person who's an aeronautical engineer and astronomer should be an aeronautical engineer and an astronomer independently. And so for us, what this lets us do is see that that's a change that we have to make. We have to actually take those occupation descriptions and divide them up into the individual descriptions that form them. There are two ways that we could deal with this kind of data, this kind of issue in the data. One is to actually harvest it as it is and then pull those things apart, inside Honey, and the other is to push that back to the ESRC and get them to publish it in that disaggregated form, which they have. So, and really the process that we're going through is identifying all of these kinds of issues so that we can actually deal with them, in an appropriate way. And actually, it may be that the simplest thing in the short term is to do it one way, but in the long term, we'll do it this other way. So we're really going through a whole lot of issues that you can really only come to grips with when you can see the data, in detail and in summary as we've got here. So I spend a lot of time on Skype and a lot of time reading and writing emails. I probably spend most of my time communicating with people, even though I work from home, and I live in Queensland now, and I've got a lot of these people scattered all over the country. In fact, we've got people everywhere, but yet I'm still working in that really quite social way. So yeah, the other things that I do then is taking this data and we have to transform it into RDF, which is essentially the kind of the data format that we're using, which is the kind of foundation of the Honey architecture. So I'm actually doing a fair bit of time, spending a fair bit of time recently writing code to convert this EAC CPF records into equivalent RDF. And most recently, in fact, one of the things that we spent the other day down here, was it yesterday? And the day before was meeting with researchers to find out what are their research practices, what are their actual research projects, and what kinds of features they would like in the Honey VL, because we're really, the next point for us is to build some software tools on top of this kind of data set that people can use and actually serve their actual research needs.